All right, welcome to another new sponsor spotlight from SVG. We're very happy to have the folks over at LucidLink as part of Sports Video Group. And we're here with the two co-founders, Peter Thompson, who's also their CEO, and George Dochev. He's also their CTO. Peter, George, thank you guys so much for joining us today, taking the time.
Thank you for having us. We love being here.
Absolutely. So you guys have been extremely busy, especially over the last, say, 12 months or so. And obviously the pandemic has changed the way that live production and broadcasters operate dramatically. And you guys have played a big role in that. So let's sort of start with the basics. Peter, can you just kind of describe, for those that aren't familiar from the SVG community, an overview of LucidLink, what you guys are about, and some of your offerings?
Right. So LucidLink is we think it's a new standard for cloud native file collaboration. And what we're doing that is completely different from everyone else is that we provide a cloud storage as a place to store all your assets. But rather than having to constantly move these files around, download them and synchronize them, and get them to the people who are actually doing the editing, we provide a way to access those in place. So you have a common place for everyone to collaborate on those files. And what that ends up doing is saving an incredible amount of time in production and efficiency. It strengthens the security because you're not having files all over the place.
Sure. Yeah. And George, from a technology standpoint, again, with over the last 2 years-ish, with the pandemic hitting, like I said, it's really changed the way that workflows are handled when it comes to any part of the production ecosystem. So from a technology standpoint, how does LucidLink present a different scenario than other vendors might?
Right. So it's interesting that LucidLink kind of changed everything and kept everything the same. Right. Why do I say that? Because on one hand, we're obviously offering something new and unique here where your storage is in the cloud, but you access it remotely as if it's local. Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of the new thing that we bring to the table. But at the same time, we built it in a way that doesn't change how people work. So when people were at the office, in an office environment, and everybody had access to their fancy high-end NAS box at the office, and they were doing their work, whatever it was, post-production, anything. When they moved to their homes during the lockdown, with a technology like ours, they were able to continue to work the exact same way, except that the NAS box became the cloud. Right. And so we kept how people work, but at the same time, we opened it up for a completely different ways of working and collaborating with people that are no longer in your geography, in your city where the office used to be located. Yet now you can collaborate on a global level, and you can bring in talent from different points in the world.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that was what was integral, right? Is yes, you can say, okay, we're going to be working totally differently now, but especially on the creative side and the operational side, if you can't make everyone feel comfortable, no one's going to embrace those new workflows. So like you said, keep everything the same while also dramatically revolutionizing it. Another thing that we've seen you guys do is really make connections throughout the vendor ecosystem when it comes to production and broadcast. And we've seen partnerships with you guys in Telestream and Avi West. Can you tell us a little bit about why those partner integrations make sense for you and what was behind some of those agreements? Peter, why don't you start us off there?
Sure. So as a technology, as George mentioned, we present like we're local storage. This is really key to all of these relationships, because all of the other software vendors or other parts of these workflow vendors, their tools, they know they have to take to cloud. Now, storage cloud, if you just use the standard upload, download APIs, that works, but it doesn't work in production because it just doesn't give you that same sense of if you're all in the office.
Sure.
And that's where LucidLink comes into play. We present as a general storage technology that any application can look at us as a disk class. And behind that, we're able to give the same performing high performance access as if you are connected to something locally. So this means that even though we began kind of our journey, and what kicked us off with a lot of the customers was looking at us as post-production collaboration as a way to do that over distance. What we're seeing rapidly is that there's also that same need when it comes to other sort of the two ends of that workflow. Post-production kind of in the middle of that time spectrum, and then in the beginning you're looking at ingest and moving files around. So from everything coming out of the camera to replacing UDP file transfer protocols, and then on the back end as well to delivery or remarketing or having to localize these for different markets. So we're seeing that a lot of different vendors who need to get into the cloud and may not have that sort of storage technology that is in our DNA roots are able to say, hey, you know what, we can use LucidLink and use the product as is and fit it into an existing workflow rather than having to chunk out pieces of the workflow that we have to have somebody stitch together.
And George, how do you think those integrations, again, Peter just described why they make sense, but how do you think those integrations take your offering to the next level and put you into different pieces throughout the entire ecosystem from end to end?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we do is that we look and feel like a local file system, or probably a better comparison analogy would be to a mount point as if you connected to a local NAS or file system server.
Right.
And from that standpoint, we work well with just about all the other vendors that consume storage. Okay, they don't have to retool, they don't have to do anything to be able to work with us. Now, having said that, there are things that we would like to enhance and augment so that we better further integrate with some of these products. Given that our main customer base today is in the media and entertainment, there's certain things that those folks need that we could provide natively down the road. Things like automatic proxy generation, integration with the Adobe tool set, and all these things that would make people's lives and their day-to-day work even simpler.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, we've seen that entire, cloud-based ecosystem just accelerate so rapidly, and the adoption as well. And everyone for a while saying, well, I'm not sure if I can go cloud native, or I don't feel comfortable without my assets on site, to suddenly a pandemic will make you do some crazy stuff. And people suddenly are like, okay, I'm in on this. So George, a quick follow-up for you. Overall in the industry, how are you seeing that level of adoption continue to accelerate? And I would think that LucidLink's growth and success is probably a reflection of that increased comfort with the cloud.
So for sure, what we saw in 2021, we expected to see sort of playing out over the next 5 years, and it just happened in 1 year. And what happened was that people not only realized they could work remotely and they could be just as productive with technologies like ours, but in fact, they can be more productive. And so essentially, this transition to the cloud accelerated dramatically in 2021 to a point where we now talk to a lot of our customers who reach a compelling event, they need to refresh hardware, etc. They no longer want to even talk about refreshing their on-premise storage. They're just replacing it entirely and moving everything to the cloud. And that's what the pandemic changed. It changed how we understand the cloud and what it can do for the productivity and for our businesses.
Yeah. I think a 5-year curve became a bit of a 5-month curve, it seemed like.
Exactly.
As a result. So, Peter, I want to close out with a question for you. What have you guys been up to lately? We talked about some of the integrations and the partnerships, of course, but any customer wins or projects that you guys have been a part of? Any new product announcements or enhancements to the platform that you'd like to highlight to the SVG community?
Well, we've been crazy busy with the growth that you've been talking about, and just making sure that we've been staffing, we've been growing our systems just to make sure that we're able to scale with that. So a lot of that has been in the investment and on the product as well. We've been doing some of our development around the ability to make sure that we can scale, get into some of these other areas, improving the performance, and that's really this last year. We've done a lot of work that may not be completely evident on the surface of the product, but will pay huge dividends going down the road, as this year we're transitioning into these high value additional features and additional capabilities that are driven directly by requests from our customers. So we're doing a lot of that, but we're also working closely with some of our partners. And one of the biggest areas that we've put our focus on is how do we make cloud costs more predictable and lower them overall for our customers. And so therefore we've had a great some good collaboration with IBM as one of our cloud providers, for example. So these are all the areas that we're going to continue to work on this year. Just keep talking to our customers, find out what they're asking us to build, and then making sure that it is as performant as possible and cost effective.
Sure. Cloud usage efficiency is something that has come up huge over the last year and a half, because a lot of people did dive into the cloud and suddenly they got the bill, right? So you want to be as efficient as humanly possible. It sounds like you guys are catering to some of those needs as well as plenty of others. We're excited to see what LucidLink has coming down the pipe in 2022 and beyond. But for now, Peter, George, thank you guys so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And stay safe, stay healthy. All right.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Jason.